here with me to discuss all these significant developments. Former Bernie Sanders national staffer Teslin Figaro and Washington Times opinion editor and Fox News contributor Charlie Hurt, who did us the great honor of deciding to join us here instead of being with the elite there in the correspondence dinner in Washington.
I've never had a better excuse to skip the correspondence dinner. It's just such a, and I can't think of by reading the reports of it, I can't think of a better one to have skipped.
I know. Well, we'll get to that, I think. But let's just start with, I mean, there's a lot happened this week with the president and so on. Let's start with the really important and serious stuff, the foreign policy aspects. I mean, the things that we saw this week, not just Korea, which has been widely commented on for obvious reasons, but also I thought it was significant the way that he really made progress on the Iran issue with President Macron and with Angela Merkel, where, you know, just a few weeks ago, you had all the kind of foreign policy elites saying, hang on a second, you know, he doesn't know what he's talking about, ripping up the Iran deal, he's not going to get anywhere with that. They're coming around to his position, but they just can't give him any credit, can they?
No, and I don't think they ever will give him credit. One of the reasons I think it would be so delightful if he did bring peace to the Korean Peninsula is not that it would just save tens of millions of fellow humans, but then the Nobel Prize Committee would be forced to give him a Nobel Prize. But even they probably wouldn't do it. They would wind up giving it to Kim Jong-un. But it really is amazing, and it's a reminder of not, you know, we talk so much about domestically about what Donald Trump has meant in terms of sort of doing things differently. But my gosh, around the world, doing things, just doing things differently, maybe in some cases doing things worse than the way the establishment was doing it, but just doing things differently. It's a breath of fresh air, and where we have been having, you know, failure after failure, you know, decades of failure. Well, doing something different is the first step towards maybe finding the right solution.
Well, Teslin, honestly, that's one of the main sort of things that he said was like, and that's what people saw. He's not going to be the usual kind of thing that people got used to. He's going to shake things up, do it his way. All the experts said it's going to be a disaster, particularly on foreign policy. It's going to be, you know, wreck the world. It's going to be a danger to the world. It's not really turning out like that, is it?
Well, you know, I guess it's perception is reality in PR. I guess it depends on how you look at it. But what I would say is President Trump has been consistent on who Trump is. From the moment that he started running for office, nothing has really changed. I think what the bigger thing is that people really don't expect you to say you're going to be the same person and actually do it. You know, before he was elected, everyone said, oh, when he changes, when he gets in, he's going to be so presidential, he's going to be this, one, that. And I always tell people when you get married, it's not about, you know, oh, once we get married, maybe he's going to be different. You know, it is who it is. He is who he is. And so if people don't like it, like even they talked about in the White House correspondent dinner, they brought in an interesting point. This is the monster that you guys created. This is who you wanted. This is who you put in office. So I think he's just been consistent with that. I also would say, I'm sure, you know, he's listened to some counsel, you know, around him not doing foreign policy before, you know, outside of business. We can't assume that he hasn't, you know, tapped into his resources. You know, we really don't know. But I think it's back to just what you said, you know, whether it's good or bad or, you know, whatever it is, people are going to remain critical because he continues to go outside of the box and not doing what we are used to seeing a president do.
And what do you make of the Kanye West thing? I mean, again, widely discussed this week. What was interesting to me was when you saw the backlash from the left about Kanye. Suddenly, he wasn't really black anymore. He was rich. And so it's okay, we can hate him because he's rich, and that's why he's with Trump. It's really interesting to me the way the response from the left came into that Kanye thing.
Well, there's two perspectives. One, I'm a poet and I'm a hip hop head. So when I speak, I'm certainly not speaking for all poets, all hip hop, and all African Americans. But I thought you raised an interesting point about being rich. But let me break down to you what hip hop's problem was.
Right.
First, hip hop has a problem with anybody being rich. In fact, I tell rappers all the time, most of you are more Republican than you think. You either are talking about getting rich or you're already rich. So hip hop has no problem, you know, with being rich. But what Kanye did was him coming here, especially from the conscious poet game, him being a conscious poet and turning into a rapper and speaking about consciousness. Once you've been deemed as bad for the African American community, it is always going to be, I get criticized for coming on Fox, you know, no matter, even if I'm saying things that people believe, even if they say right on, you're right on point, it doesn't matter because Fox has been deemed already everything against what's helpful for me and my people, just being very honest.
Yeah.
So by Kanye stepping outside of that and saying, you know, listen, I want to be a free thinker. I want to have more dialogue, you know, across the table to have this conversation. I tell people all the time, somebody got to go to Fox. Somebody has to have the conversation.
Right. Well, I'm very glad it's you.
Yeah. And so because of that, because he came out and did something different and said, let's have this conversation. It is particularly with hip hop and with African Americans, he's being criticized because he's supposed to be the epitome of consciousness. Hip hop started with talking about the struggle, talking about it's like a jungle sometimes, maybe wonder how I keep from going under. So for him to come and actually talk about capitalism, talking about free capital, talking about Second Amendment, all of the things that hip hop preaches on a daily basis. Steve, my issue with Kanye is how he really rolled it out. If he wants to support Trump or support Trump administration policies that do work, which is business owners like I'm one, which is free capital, which is free trade, all of those things, rolling it out that way opposed to I'm just wearing a hat and I'm trying to
that's a really
make
point.
It more of a gimmick is the problem, which why it won't be received, because he's not focusing on issue, he's talking about emotion.
That's such a great point, and I always think that's right. We've got to come back to the agenda that he ran on and whether or not he's doing it. But Charlie, I thought it was really interesting what Teslim was saying there is about, actually it picks up on what Kasich was saying of all people, which is this, this incredible polarization and division and anger and hate. And he's reaching out of that. He's trying to get out of the boxes and actually have a conversation.
Well, that was the funny thing about the campaign. If you read the media, you'd think that it was the most polarizing campaign and all this kind of stuff. The truth is, there was a lot of polarization going on. But if two things. Donald Trump's campaign was the most issue-oriented presidential campaign I've ever covered. And that goes back a few years. The second thing is that those issues, as you pointed out, were very unifying issues. They were talking about things like freedom, breaking down, the bureaucratic barriers and things like that. And all of that, it doesn't matter what color you are. These are all very popular messages. And then, of course, the final message, all the government, has not been good to all the communities that it claims to be good to. And that was why I think that message that he delivered to African Americans, that look, what have you got to lose, was such a profound message.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we could sort of debate all that for a long time, but I just think that. I know that there's a risk that we make too much of one event, but there is something interesting happening here. I think with this, with the way that the Kanye West intervention, as it were, has kind of sparked this debate. I think it's really interesting. Anyway, thank you both.
Are you watching that mess that's going on right now with the caravan coming up? Are you watching this?
Well, we're certainly watching. Welcome back to The Next Revolution. Breaking tonight, Customs telling a caravan of migrants from Central America that the San Diego port of entry has reached full capacity. Hundreds of men, women and children have gathered there seeking asylum, many claiming that they're looking to escape gang violence. They're likely going to try again tomorrow to cross into the United States. The Trump administration has called the group a threat and is urging those families to go through proper legal channels. Joining me now is syndicated columnist Ann Coulter. Ann, how are you doing? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you, Steve.
All right, so I suspect you've got a lot to say about this. Let's go with what's going on down there at the border right now with a caravan. What's your take on the caravan and what the Trump administration is doing about it?
Well, I wish Trump would just stay on the road like he was in campaign mode again, because he gets instant feedback from the crowd, and that's when he says really popular things that get Republicans elected and could possibly defend against a blue wave. But then he gets back to Washington, and he's not doing anything about the caravan. I mean, he sent out a tweet a few weeks ago saying, "Oh, don't worry. Thanks, Mexican government has stopped the caravan." And then the Daily Mail goes to Mexico and says, no, we haven't stopped the caravan. We're giving them 30-day passes, 20-day passes to make sure that they can make it to America. They're not all traveling with the caravan anymore, but they're spreading out so they can go to different access points. They are 100% still coming. All they have to do is step across the border. Oh, and they have lots of lawyers from countries without borders advising them. This is a political attack on our nation by a political group that doesn't believe nations should have borders. They're advised, they're told what to say, they step across the border, they say asylum, and that's it. They're going to get shipped in, and we'll get another round of MS-13 and another round of MS-13. I mean, Trump has a lot of has a lot of power. He was the one who was elected. It's Republicans and Congress that the American people hate. If he wants Congress to pass this law, it wouldn't be very hard. Maybe if you spent a little more time on making America great again and not working on making South Korea and China great again, he could get back to pressuring Congress to do something for the American people. And that would be pass a law saying you don't just get to step in and say, I'm claiming asylum, and then get a bus and a box lunch into America.
And then there's also the point about the wall. I mean, these pictures, I can't think of anything that's a more direct argument for what he was saying all along, which you know, doesn't seem to be happening.
No, and I mean, there's a reason that became the chant. If you go back and look at his famous, you know, Mexican rapist speech announcing his candidacy, he talks about a lot of things. He threw out tax cuts, Obamacare, the military, blah, blah, blah. It was from going out and giving these speeches and having, you know, a 10,000 person focus group every day of the campaign that he saw which lines were the popular ones. Well, there's a reason that the American people, unlike the donors, wanted a wall. A wall is the only thing that will work. You don't check with the people whose jobs are going to be made obsolete to find out if they need a wall. No, we just need drones and more border police. No, we want a wall for a reason, to stop the heroin, to stop the caravans, and he has 100% power to build a wall. He's the commander-in-chief. His duty is, his number one duty is to protect the borders. It's not to resolve North and South Korea's, you know, dispute. That's not our problem. North Korea is China's problem. The Syria is Europe and France's problem. Mexico is our problem. So, I mean, are European newspapers consumed with what's going to happen with Mexico and the caravan? Are Chinese and South Korean newspapers worried about illegal immigrants coming into America and draining our people dry? No, they aren't. Why are we worried about their problems? That was the whole point of Make America Great Again.
You are you are the true purist. I love it. So listen, you mentioned jobs earlier. You noticed something in the president's rally last night that was very interesting. Hasn't got picked up that much. Let's play it, and I'll get your reaction on the other side.
And for the farmers, okay, it's going to get good. And we're going to let your guest workers come in, because we're going to have strong borders, but we have to have your workers come in. You know, the unemployment picture is so good, it's so strong, that we have to let people come in. They're going to be guest workers. They're going to come in. They're going to work on your farms. We're going to have the H-2Bs come in. We're going to have a lot of things happening, but then they have to go out. Then they have to go out.
So what's that about?
Well, please first notice that it's dead silence through that entire blather until he gets to, and then they're going to have to go out. That's why I want him giving speeches nonstop so he can get this feedback. I don't know what this is about. You tell me, because the way I remember it, we did not elect Jeb Bush. I was completely sure we elected Donald Trump. Where he gets this nonsense, and the H-2B visas he's talking about are absolutely the worst you could possibly come up with. They aren't farm workers, and by the way, the farmers can build robots. I don't know if you've ever used an ATM, but maybe it's time for farmers to move into the 20th century. Leaving that aside, that's not what H-2B visas are. It's for working at places like Mar-a-Lago, working at in entertainment and resorts and restaurants and construction. The most important jobs, I would add, now that, you know, he and Kanye are bonding, the most important jobs for African Americans. I mean, he gave that beautiful speech in Milwaukee saying to African Americans, what have the Democrats given you? Give us a chance. This is how you would give African Americans and, you know, all working class Americans a chance. They didn't ask for a tax cut. They asked for jobs. These are jobs. And he's standing up at a rally promising to bring in H-2B workers. That was the whole Disney thing. Remember, that was a big deal during the debate. It hurt Marco Rubio.
Yes.
And it's going to hurt Trump.
Totally
I mean, I hear these speeches, and all I can see is a huge blue wave, a blue tsunami. But there is still time. Trump can bring it back. One piece of good news. I'm sorry, I'm going on like this endless monologue, but One piece of good news, Steve, is yesterday's New York Times had an article saying that Trump is disregarding the advice from the loser Republicans, i.e. Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, to talk about tax cuts because he finds those issues boring and he would prefer to talk about immigration and trade. I am 100% with the president on that, and that's the only way to stop a blue wave.
A lovely moment of unity to end on. Anne, thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you.
Yes, tonight's the White House Correspondents' Dinner. We aren't showing that crap. I was invited. So was Trump. We both said no. I think Trump said it best.
You may have heard I was invited to another event tonight, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But I'd much rather be in Washington, Michigan than in Washington, D.C. right now. That I can tell you.
Very clever. But just in case something happens at the Correspondents' Dinner, we actually have someone here monitoring the event. Poor guy. But damn, this was a great week. One of the best weeks ever. It's right up there with the Miracle on Ice, or when the wall fell, or when Lou Dobbs woke up in my basement. That rascal, he gnawed through the restraints. But it was a week of history, hugs, and handshakes.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Thank you.
I like him a lot.
Only a prediction. Thank you. Thank you.
It's the handshake, the salesman's signature, and Trump's always leaves a bruise. So how do you prepare for that? If only there were a drug.
Well, it's official. I'm going to visit the White House. I can't believe I'm going to meet the president.
How's your hand strength?
Hand strength? Why?
You see how firmly this dude shakes hands? Look at what he did with Macron.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Sounds like you need a stronger grip.
Yeah, but how?
It's easy thanks to Preparation Shake.
Never heard of it.
Preparation Shake is a blend of cortisone and crushed up Himalayan fire ants. Apply 30 times a day for 3 days and watch your hand size and strength increase exponentially. You'll be ready for any handshake, especially with powerful world leaders.
Wow, this is the most lotion I've ever had on my hand.
I doubt that, cowboy.
Well, I can feel it working already.
Hey, Tom.
Thanks, Preparation Shake. I'm ready for the White House.
So try Preparation Shake today. You can go from this to this. Warning, may cause permanent enlargement of skeletal muscle and organs.
But that's not the only friend that Trump made this week. Kanye West. Talk about brave. A hip-hop star supporting Trump is like the Pope canonizing Freddy Krueger. How did the sheep react?
So now Donald Trump has 2 black friends. I hope Ben Carson doesn't get jealous.
Like, I don't even know what happened here. I think Kanye West just realized he's too rich to not be Republican. I don't even know what it is.
We have the right to independent thought, and I independently think that Kanye has lost his mind.
Of course. The memories of grade school. You do something different and the mob descends. Kanye saw this coming, but he did it anyway as an example for others to follow. I mean, I wonder if Kanye gets it.
By the way, in all fairness, Kanye West gets it. He gets it.
You want to find the people scared of this? Find the ones mocking it. And while that's happening, another handshake occurred. These fellas, Kim looking great in a shirt borrowed from Hillary. This is huge. It's true. It's true, Drew. And who got this ball rolling?
I think we'll have a meeting over the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to be a very important meeting. The denuclearization of the Korean peninsula of North Korea. The denuke. One of the fake news groups this morning, they were saying, what do you think President Trump had to do with it? I'll tell you what. Like, how about everything?
So good. So, everyone should be happy, but then being happy means you got to admit that Trump made you happy. Not smiling over this, that's the ultraviolet black light that reveals a childish hate. I wonder what Katie Couric was covering.
In this nondescript building, I have an appointment with Harmony, the world's first sex robot. What do you like to do for fun?
I like robots, computers, and making new friends. I also love making love to you.
Whoa, what?
Look, I get it. How many times can we watch the same people being interviewed? James Comey, Stormy Daniels. Leave it to Katie to land an interview with a sex robot. But they ordered a salad for her. What a waste of $18. Speaking of robots, back to that correspondence dinner. What a segue. So this year, who's the MC? Someone from The Daily Show. Who was last year's MC? Someone from The Daily Show. Who will be next year's MC? Someone from The Daily Show. So you can forecast the whole thing. A comic tells a joke you could see a mile away, and the audience will pretend to be shocked. It's as predictable as a question from John Carl.
Mr. President, what about Michael Cohen? Are you considering a pardon
Thank you
for
very
Michael
much.
Cohen?
Stupid question.
So enjoyable. So enjoyable. But this is why Kanye feels so dangerous, and Trump, unlike anything else. And leave it to Trump to once again counter-program with his own rally. What a great comparison to the correspondence dinner. I mean, look at the dinner. It's like a timeshare presentation at a retirement village. And look at the rally. It's Club Med on clothing optional night. One is soul-destroying, but the other's a lot of fun. So this is a new era. It feels like a rip in the universe. Kanye and Trump, Kim and Moon. The media doesn't get it, but you do. Bubbles are bursting and beliefs are upended. If this is what happens after sleeping with a porn star, Period. Thank you. Let's welcome tonight's guest. He's so wise, owls come to him for advice. Host of the radio show Dr. Drew, Midday Live, Dr. Drew Pinsky. He's the man with the plan who's never had a tan. Fox News radio host Tom Shalhoub. You next. She thought Silence of the Lambs was a romantic comedy. National Review reporter Kat Timpf. And he's considered a giant among giants. Former WWE superstar, my massive sidekick Tyrus. All right. Drew, you claim to be a doctor.
All right.
I am interested in the psychological effects of Trump winning on the visceral Trump hater.
Yeah, the cognitive dissonance that's going to occur. In other words, when people believe that they believe deeply that this man is incapable of nothing good, if something good comes out of it, they either have to deny he had anything to do with it,
right,
or, as you said, the bubble bursts, their world rips in half, and what they will begin looking for is a scapegoat.
Right.
They will have to gather their aggression as a group and scapegoat somebody. My fear is it could be somebody like Hillary. I mean, they've been scapegoating her right along, and that could really get very aggressive.
Yeah, there are so many off-ramps to saying Trump might be a good person, or no, he doesn't have to be a good person. No, he could be a great president, but they choose the off-ramps. They have to go somewhere else.
They can't. It does not fit their they're watching a movie that you know what I'm referring to.
Yes.
They're watching a different movie than you and I are.
Yes, they're watching a movie with Stormy Daniels in it.
That's right, the one that you watched.
Pay-per-view, by the way, $18 at your local Marriott. Hey, Tom, North Korea. Pretty pretty big deal.
Huge news, Greg.
Huge news.
Huge news for the whole world. And the interesting thing was that people who watch world politics had to admit that it was unprecedented and amazing. So I loved watching cable news because there was this phenomenon. If you remember Fonzie couldn't say wrong? He never could say wrong. They were having so much trouble giving the president credit. They were like, President Trump definitely deserves I get it. I get it.
But it was such an extraordinary thing. It was extraordinary.
No, and
in our lifetime, are you kidding? Did you ever expect this?
No. But that's why he does things where he upends the table, then he starts at a negotiating process from chaos, and it tends to work. Kat, I want to ask you about Kanye. He upset a lot of people. Did he upset you?
No.
No.
And all the people getting so upset made me very happy because I got to feel better than them.
Yes.
Think about it. Think about having the time and energy to actually get this mad over this.
Mm-hmm.
You need a life if you have that kind of time and energy. I'm serious. Go home, hug your family, take up fly fishing, do something, because that is very, very pathetic.
It is. Although I was very excited by it. So does that mean I need to get a life? Probably.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that is true.
You already knew that.
Yes. All right, Tyrus, you have strong feelings. Do you think Kanye did this to promote something?
Well, first of all, going back to your point about all this came from sleeping with a porn star.
Yeah.
We probably all should sleep with porn stars.
That was my point.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know you're upset, so I want to get that.
Yes.
I'm more upset at the narrative.
Yeah.
That there's this shocking misnomer that a brother, African American, could like Donald Trump, like Kanye was the first one. Mm-hmm. Like, he was pro-Trump. Great.
Yeah.
Move on. Mm-hmm. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
A lot of black people voted for President Trump. A lot. Mm-hmm. They did not all vote for Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
And the narrative that is played, we had an amazing, historic moment. Mm-hmm. It's like the wall coming down. This is something that in the history books will be at least 2 chapters.
Yeah.
North and South Korea are on the same side. Mm-hmm. And the narrative is, oh, let's get black people in Trump again. Let's get a racial thing going. That is what drives me nuts. And Kanye, of course, he's a perfect guy for that because he's not political. If you asked him, hey, what's your favorite part about Trump's, I don't know. He doesn't even know. He didn't vote. He did this when he was elected. He was like, I didn't vote, but if I would have voted, I would have voted for Trump. He does it for reactions. And then to make it worse, the next was it today, I'm got a song coming out now about it. Like, it's hard to be. That brother don't represent other brothers. He doesn't. He's him.
Yeah.
He's part of that Kardashian world where they do things for attention. And it's very cool right now to say, hey, I'm cool with Trump because the left will be like, because the left, it's the new rebel.
Okay.
It's the new villain. I'm a bad guy. I like Trump, and then the left is like, oh, and you get 2 news cycles.
Yeah.
You get a ton of attention. Everybody's like, damn, I'm mad that I was supportive in the beginning. I should have waited. I could have got a book deal for my own show on Sunday nights.
Don't applaud that.
You fell for it.
I did.
I am deeply disturbed about what they're saying about Kanye. They're saying because he's contemplating political views they don't agree with, he lost his mind.
Yeah.
He's been public about having had a psychiatric condition, so you're stigmatizing him, A, B, and anybody else that has a kind of psychiatric condition. If you don't agree with their ideas, you have to stigmatize somebody like that. And then number 2, since when is it that changing political views or contemplating political views is a sign and symptom of psychiatric illness?
Yeah.
Give me a damn break.
Yeah, we're pathologizing.
They are not even pathological. They don't even know what they're doing. That's the problem. They're throwing epithets
But we're
around
talking about Kanye West instead of Kim Jong-un. That's the problem.
All right,
should
I think
Who gives a damn about a rapper who hasn't had a good album in 2
disagree.
years?
I think they're both monumental in different ways. One is in our culture, and one is in world geopolitics, and they're both kind of groundbreaking. The geopolitics thing, obviously, is a bigger story. But the fact that Kanye is urging people to step out of the boxes of right and left, anti-Trump, pro-Trump. We are in a society where everybody is being put in buckets or boxes, and he's saying, don't be in a bucket, don't be in a box. I think that's important as a pop culture evolution.
But it's not. They already stepped out the box. That's why we have Donald Trump as president.
Yeah, that's
the point. They push this narrative like we're all in boxes. We're not. We're only on, if you watch CNN during the little panels and they talk about all the trouble in the streets, but if you actually go in the streets, I travel the world, I'm in the airports, and I've yet to have, although I'm a giant, I get it, but I've yet to have somebody run up to me, hey, Uncle Tom, what you doing on Fox News? Like, hey, man, good job, brother. Way to keep telling how it really is. That's not the real narrative. It's not exciting or surprising. Brothers like Trump. How many are there? Is there a tribe? Is there a whole bunch of them? Is there more than 5?
Yeah.
I mean, it's BS. It's not real.